Salut tout le monde, c'est Samy, bienvenue dans cette nouvelle vidéo et aujourd'hui ce bienvenue a une saveur particulière puisque je suis très heureux d'être en mesure de vous livrer une belle interview, une interview d'une artiste que j'adore et qui a énormément à vous, à nous apporter. J'ai cité Camila Meza. Je vais vous la présenter succinctement pour ceux qui ne la connaissent pas. J'en ai parlé rapidement dans ma dernière vidéo que je vous mettrai en suggestion ici. On avait relevé un de ses solos. Camila Meza, c'est une artiste chilienne, guitariste, chanteuse, compositrice, qui a 2 albums à son actif que je vous mettrai en description, que je vous recommande chaudement d'aller écouter. Et c'est une artiste que j'ai découvert un peu par hasard sur Internet, sur YouTube, en automne de l'année dernière, en automne 2023, et j'ai directement, instantanément accroché à son travail. Tous les arrangements, le timbre de voix, la beauté des mélodies, le phrasé, impro, jazz, fantastique, c'est exactement le genre de phrasé que j'aime et que j'essaie de développer à la guitare. Et donc, voilà, j'ai écouté en boucle ses albums, j'ai relevé pas mal de ses phrases, et j'ai eu l'idée, à un moment donné, spontanément, de lui demander si elle était OK pour une interview. Et elle a répondu rapidement favorablement à ma demande, donc un grand merci à elle de nous avoir accordé du temps. Vous allez voir dans cette interview, on va rentrer profondément dans sa vision de l'impro et de sa méthodologie de pratique de la guitare. Donc, c'est une interview très riche, où vous pouvez trouver des réponses précieuses à vos questions par rapport à ces sujets-là. Donc, prenez bien le temps de l'écouter, c'est vraiment précieux. Si vous connaissez pas cet artiste, allez écouter, franchement, ça vaut le détour. Si vous aimez le jazz moderne, avec des influences plus vastes que ça, hein, Camila Meza est chilienne, donc elle a introduit pas mal d'éléments de musique latine dans son jeu également. C'est juste magnifique. Voilà, sans plus de blabla, je vous laisse avec l'interview. Pensez à vous abonner à la chaîne pour supporter mon travail. Mettez des pouces pour supporter aussi, référencer cette vidéo. Et puis, bien sûr, si le travail de Camila Meza vous plaît, allez vous abonner à sa chaîne, allez écouter ses albums. Il y a énormément de belles choses pour vous inspirer. Sur ce, bonne interview et rendez-vous dans la prochaine vidéo. Ciao. So, hola Camila, nice to meet you. Thanks very much to be here. Welcome to my channel. Can I ask you in which part of the world are you right now? Where are you participating to this interview?
Yeah, right now I'm in Guatemala,
Guatemala. Okay.
Central
So
America. Uh, I'm kind of
probably
a
much. Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm original for people that don't know. I'm originally from Chile. Uh, I also spent time in America and also now Guatemala. So I'm kind of
Okay.
like all over the place.
So good headquarters, and then you can move for tours and
Exactly.
musical life.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I suggest is like we have around 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more, to talk about music. I have many questions for you. I don't know if I'm going to have time to ask everything, but as I run a teaching guitar channel, I will mostly ask you questions about like musical education and your the way you approach harmony and improvisation and stuff like that. So maybe we can start with like your musical education, how you start guitar, and how you went to jazz. If you can tell us a little bit about this to
Yeah.
start.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I started guitar very early on because my mom bought us some acoustic guitars. It's like a classic Latin American house has the
Okay.
acoustic guitars around. And I did start more with like folkloric music from Latin America. And then around like 14 or 15, I an electric guitar.
Okay.
At that time, I was very into more rock music. So
Okay.
once I got the guitar, I started learning, you know, Led Zeppelin tunes and Jimi Hendrix and all that. And then slowly I got more and more interested. My ear was leaning me towards more what I would call more kind of like sophisticated
Mhm.
harmonies, more colorful
Colors.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't really know what jazz was. Like it took me a while to sort of like realize that was the sound and that was what I wanted to do. I was listening at one point I started listening to these records that came to me, like via my brother, some friends. They introduced me to Pat Metheny or Wes Montgomery. And honestly, listening to Pat Metheny, for instance, like back then, without knowing anything, I didn't know that he was improvising.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
would hear that, I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot to remember, kind of thing.
Yes,
So,
quite.
so yeah, long story short, like music lessons, and then I started learning harmony and improvising and everything, everything music and
Yeah,
jazz, and
the
that's
full curriculum.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. You went to a school maybe?
Yeah, first I started private lessons with a private teacher, and
Okay.
then when I was 18 and I decided to pursue a career, so I went to actually a very small music school in Chile, because
Uh-huh.
at that
Okay.
point there weren't like big universities for jazz or popular
Mhm.
music. So yeah, it was like a very cute, small popular music and jazz school. I went there for a couple of
Yeah.
years, and then I decided to go back to private music teacher. And from there, I see a big shift. Like that teacher was incredible and
Mhm.
really started like making me understand jazz harmony and the sounds that are important
Mhm.
and all that. Yeah, I remember seeing like a big exponential growth there when I started
Yeah, for
working with
sure.
this teacher in particular. Yeah.
So it's not like just singing, because we are going to talk about that after. It's not just
Yeah.
about like what you hear in your mind, like you have a full understanding, obviously, of all the concepts of jazz harmony in depth. But it's something that interests me because you have like different worlds in the musical approach. On one hand, for example, you have guys like Rick Beato, very famous guy on the internet, like
Mm-hmm.
does an incredible job about harmony, and you know that the
Mm-hmm.
guy is thinking a lot about harmony, of remote, scales, interval, etc. And then on the other hand, you have like guys like Joe Pass that in some videos are saying like, a mode? What exactly is a mode? I don't use modes. I don't care about modes. So there are like kind of different approaches, and I really wanted to know what place it takes in your playing, because when we hear you play, it's very embodied. We can see that you think every single note that you are playing. So it feels like very flowing, natural, and it doesn't seem like you are thinking that much about the underlying harmony. So
Mm.
can you tell us a bit
That's
more about
yeah.
your way of saying?
Yeah, that's really cool. I really like that. That's the way that you're hearing what I'm putting out there, because I guess there is a conscious work towards
Mhm.
that particular. I would say it's a balance, because um, I did, as you mentioned, I did, work on scale. I still working on them, like it's kind of like a never ending. But I did go through a very sort of like the methodical academic way of learning harmony and jazz and improvisation and all that. But there was a point that sort of started questioning the way that I was sounding. I was listening back and I'm like, that doesn't sound connected,
Mhm.
and I think it's something that could happen a lot to us guitarists because of the nature of the instrument, which is
Mhm.
so visual in a
Visual,
way.
yeah, for sure. Mhm.
You create certain paths, like you visualize like a scale in whatever you imagine, but
Yeah.
like um, so you can get caught in patterns. You can get caught in like the ways that feel familiar and simple, not simple, but like just familiar to your mind and playing. So I was listening back to my recordings and I was like, yeah, this is not like where I would have naturally went with my voice, you know? Maybe being a singer, like I also, although we all really singers, it's just, you know, I'm connecting that very, very strongly. So yeah, when I did that, I started making this practice of really connecting my inner ear with my playing.
Yes.
So I would
Okay.
give myself the time, like consciously, to, you know, like let's say pick a color or a progression, depending on what you're working. It could be even like a song, a long form at the end, but like maybe start like little by little. And yeah, you could start in a C major, and then really hear the intervallic movements that are coming inside your mind before you put your fingers, you
Before you
know?
play. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, we could talk about this for a long time, but like just that's like a sort of like
Yeah, but let's talk about this for a long time. One question that one question that I have on top of that would be like, today, could you like sing an entire solo on a complex jazz chord progression without playing it at the guitar? And it would be the solo that you would have played on the guitar, but you don't play it, you just sing it. The underlying question is like, your voice is your voice totally independent from your fingers and muscles memories?
yeah, amazing question actually, because what really comes down to is that like both instruments sort of inform each other, you know? And
Yes.
so like basically, yeah, I've noticed when I'm soloing just the voice without the guitar, I sometimes, you know, get of the sound and the quality of the voice. I would like remain in certain areas, for instance, like register wise, that would sound better in my voice. And that would have like a different outcome whether I had the guitar and I would be doubling, like that technique of doubling my solo on the guitar. Like at the same time, at the same time, because the guitar allows me to visualize so clearly certain, let's say, certain tensions or things that are like in general harder to sing, like, you know, sharp 11s or flat fives here and there, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes like the fact that I'm playing on the guitar, like the voice immediately grabs itself to that sound, right? And I'm able to inform the voice in that way, you know.
Okay. Okay. So
So
it's going like in two direction.
I would think so, yeah. But the practice of it, I find it important because like by doing this, right, like to first hear it, I mean, I saw the progression of my playing. Like it became like my lines became like so much like singable or more like lyrical or more they made more sense, like voice leading wise, you know. Because we all have that information really inside of us, but sometimes we get like sidetracked because we haven't like put that information in the fingers yet, you know.
Yeah, but like recently I was transcribing two of your solos, the one on Traces and the other one on Mar Elastico.
Oh,
But I
nice.
don't pronounce
Yeah.
well, sorry.
No, you
but,
did.
And it's like the phrasing is really amazing. It's like you are playing a lot of triads insides, but seeing you like singing every note, I was like, how is she singing this? And like instantly playing those triads, the underlying triads licks. I was like very surprised, or I was really wondering how it's like flows naturally, because I think that the solos that you did on the recording and obviously on the live are totally improvised. You didn't written some ideas before.
Yeah, no, those are improvised. Yeah. Yeah. Although, I mean, there's also, you know, you create your own language too, right? Like,
Yeah.
like you're using words at the end, you know, like the
Yeah.
usual sort of metaphor with how we speak. Like or just putting like the there to sort of talk about a different topic, you know. But yeah, it's it's a really cool sound too, and what I really enjoy when doing that is that it it makes my playing, although sometimes it's very instrumental, you know, like it could, you know, there like I cannot do with the voice really, you know,
Yes.
like I have a certain ability on the voice, but like the guitar also does its own thing. But when I'm in that sort of world of like more oblique and more instrumental oriented um, lines, like I still have, if I'm there with the voice, there's still like this musicality, this ability to like leave space when needed, you know, as if you're singing, as if you're talking.
Yeah.
You need to breathe, right? Like so, and I personally enjoy listening to that because it tells me more of a story. I'm more engaged when I'm like I hear someone really time to develop, or when someone's really like meaning every note, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit how you arrive there, how you achieve this? Because being fluent like that and being able to express the musical ideas like the phrases, to talk as you doing like very freely. Would you be able to tell? I know it's very difficult because it's like a long time practice, ups and downs. It's a journey of life. But could you summarize what are the most important points that led you here? Like, I will be more precise with my questions. Like, it seems to have like two different types of guitarists. Some of them are really practicing with deliberate practice, very Spartan exercises. Like I'm thinking about Robbie Barnby. He has a YouTube channel. He's amazing guitar player, but very, very Spartan, like exercises, very complex, very like playing all arpeggios of the three main systems in all 12 keys. So this kind of really, really hard, deep, non-musical practice that's afraid a lot of people, and that is not very funny, but that helps like developing patterns and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And you have like some other guys that just during interviews are just saying like, oh, I just play what I was like, just noodling. So which team are you, and with all the nuances in between?
Right. Yeah. Great question too. So I really enjoy the, you know, sitting down with a guitar and figuring out new things, and you know, but like I've always have like this reticent feeling of repeating over and over again something that doesn't necessarily sound so musical, or something that, yeah, that like I know it won't become part of my vocabulary. It feels like at a certain point, I even like the study of scales, like at a certain point I was like, oh, why am I going up and down this, like how am I gonna, like I'm never gonna use it really exactly like this. So I I think it's a good base to land, right? Like, oh, let's figure out the all the positions, and like, you know, two octaves here, or, you know, being methodical that way. But then when I want to practice and develop, I like to put like as soon as possible things like in context and perspective, and so I wouldn't consider myself, and maybe that's something that you can hear in my playing too, like it's there, it's not so much like super virtuosic, like, oh, crazy arpeggio. It's more like what we're talking about, like I want to almost like be able to sing my solo, right? I want to become like an extension of the melody, you know, and I love patterns as well. Don't get me wrong. I love, like, you know, when I hear like you know, someone like Coltrane, or like even like Kurt Rosenwinkel, like make these crazy amazing runs. Like I'm like, oh, I want to be able to do that. But then when I'm like playing, they don't come as naturally, you know? Like it's almost like yeah, I don't go there for some reason. But I do practice I do practice harmony in a way that, like, it allows me to also be able to see as much as possible, you know? Like I will like figure out like the arpeggios on
Okay.
the
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And if I find one arpeggio particularly interesting, I will like deconstruct it and like try to make vocabulary out of it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you
And
know?
are you still thinking about harmony when you are improvising, when you are like building phrases and singing, improvising live? Are you still, in a way, in the back of your mind, thinking about it, or you are completely forgetting about it?
I think it will have to do with my familiarity with the harmony, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
The more I've worked on a particular set
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
chords, the more I can detach from it, and then, like, you know, like a turnaround. Like I don't think I think about it anymore. I just, like, you know,
Yeah.
kind of go in and out. But if it's, yeah, if it's a new song, or like changes that I still, for instance, kind of memorize for sure. I feel
Mhm.
like I'm still like, oh, seeing like, oh, this is the seventh of this chord, or this is like, you
Okay,
know,
so
yeah,
you are keeping this visualization of the fretboard. You still have this culture because of your background education. You
I would
still
say
like
so.
visualize as well
Yeah,
intervals
yeah,
on the fretboards. Yeah,
yeah. You do too.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure,
Yeah, yeah.
for sure. But I'm on
Yeah.
this way, like the kind of, if I ask you for this interview, it's exactly the kind of phrasing that I want to develop. Yeah, this is the way I want to take. So obviously, I want to steal a bit of your experience and share
Yeah,
it with my audience as well.
that's awesome.
Um, Let me see about the next question, because we covered already some very important stuff.
Nice.
About composition and arrangements, because it's some things to be like a good guitarist, to play standards in a bar, and it's something else to have 2 music awards and to to create albums. So how did you develop that? So how did you went to songwriting?
Um, I started writing my own songs like very early on, like when I was like, before even asking for that guitar, the electric guitar, I was
Mhm.
writing songs. It came so naturally to me. And then I would say that the development of my learning, and getting to understand like what these chords were, and like starting to listen to music, and learn from other compositions, it made a little bit of a block,
Mhm.
artistic block. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, my songs are not good enough. So for a long time, I didn't write, like, I would say maybe 7 years, I wrote like one song. It
Okay.
was, yeah, but it's so natural in me that, like, once that door finally opened up again, like I started writing like like a volcano
Okay.
kind of.
Okay. Yeah.
And my relationship to it also sort of really clarified, in the sense that,
Mhm.
like, oh, it's not just a craft for me, you know. It's
Mhm.
almost like a very deep practice of connecting with like emotions and things that like I basically cannot express otherwise. So it becomes like this therapeutic action. Music. So I wouldn't say that I'm like a super prolific necessarily, you know, like there's moments that I just go for it and there's so much stuff coming out and there's like you know months that I don't write.
Yeah,
So
but when we listen to the final album, like I went to listen a lot, Tracy's, for example, the songs seems so natural. It seems so organic. I don't have enough vocabulary to really find the word that I want, but it doesn't seem that much processed. Like it seems like pretty natural. Like you wrote the song quite easily. But I'm curious because I'm curious about the work that is behind and if there is some struggle or not. What kind of perfectionist are you? Are you going to try 10 different chord progression, bass line, changing this semitone of the melody lines? Between what we see at the end and the process,
yeah,
what
question.
happened?
Yeah. I feel like whenever there's this channel that opens, I become completely obsessed with finishing this song. So like basically I don't leave songs for, oh no, I'll work on it like next month. No, it starts and really I have to figure it out. It's a puzzle to me that like I need to take care of. And so I would say that in general, from the beginning to the end, the songs are completed in a relatively short time. You know,
what is related?
yeah, that's a good question. Like, what's a short time? I mean, to give you an example, I like, I don't know, like the last song that I made, might have been like maximum like less than a week.
Nice.
And to be honest with you, also some songs really come out like whoosh, like from
like a jam.
Yeah, exactly. This block that I'm talking about like got opened up by this song called Away, which is actually in on Traces. And that one I remember struggling so much to like continuing the development. It could have been also that it was sort of like a song that was opening up the dusty channels, you know, but I remember being such a struggle to like find the transitions, you know. Like I would get this like two verses and then like, oh, where am I going? And then like I couldn't figure it out. But like again, like that idea of like I became obsessed. Like I would stay until like 3 a.m. like figuring it out, you know.
Really
on the other hand,
forcing.
On the other hand, like a song like Para Volar, which is also on that album, it came mostly, I would say, it came out of like an improvisation over a pedal, you know. So yeah, it's hard to make like a you know, like a whole method or a severance of so many different you know, songs that like became their own world in different ways. But yeah, I guess some songs are completely a struggle and some songs are like, oh my god, how did this happen? You know.
And the musical education that you had did really help you to compose, or when sometimes you are stuck and it's difficult to find a way, do you use like some specific tools that you had during your lessons, courses? Because we don't have that much time, but then you went to compose like for strings, like you have like a band with like how much strings? I don't know. It's an octet.
Yeah, it's a quartet.
A quartet. So it's not something like it's special to compose for string as well. So My question is like, does your background musical education help you to compose for everything, like for
Yeah.
strings, bass, and
Well,
everything?
in the case of the strings project, actually it is we're still working, but it's a collaboration with my friend Noam Weisenberg, because basically, yeah, I would write the tunes and then have some ideas,
Okay.
melodic ideas, but he orchestrated the strings, so
Okay.
I can't take credit for that.
Yeah.
But in regards to the development of composition and my my harmonic and music theory background, I would say that, yeah, it definitely helps, because what I see is that, like, exactly when there's moments that you're stuck, or when there's a need for contrast, you already have these tools that you
Yeah.
kind of go to. Oh yeah, if I'm in this key, like, what if I change to this minor, or what if I modulate, or what, like, I do think in those terms sometimes. Sometimes I guess my answers are all hybrid, because there's no one way. But, like, yeah, there's moments where I write and I don't want to put that theory in, like, I just want to hear the chords and not judge them. I'm like, oh, am I going to the minor six? Oh, that's boring, or something like that.
Okay.
So I kind of like try to not think. But then, for instance, again, citing a song, that song Para Volar, which is on Traces, as I mentioned, it was done over a pedal. And then once, like, I became kind of like, I thought, okay, that G flat it's overused. What can I do? And then, like, I know all the, like the progressions of that G flat major. So I started like checking out, like, if I put all different colors from that scale and like put them here to create this contrast, and I knew what I was doing at that moment.
Yeah. Okay.
And it does serve me, but sometimes, of course, I want to forget, because sometimes knowing kind of limits you, because you kind of judge certain harmonic passages as like, oh no, but this not belong to this, or like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
it's good to forget sometimes.
Yeah, as well. But you rely mostly on like the fundamentals of harmony, or you had also like advanced courses on composition, maybe counterpoints, or more advanced stuff than just like knowing the different system, parallel scales, and modulation and all.
I would say no, I don't have like I didn't study composition. I might have taken a couple of like classes in school, like counterpoint, but I wouldn't say that necessarily they have been the cause of my music making, or the way that I write, or it's very intuitive.
Yeah. Okay.
Very, very intuitive, and I really try to follow my ears, like, as much as I can. Yeah.
I would have bet it. When you compose, I assume you compose like at home with voice and guitar, and you leave space for the other musicians to propose like grooves for the drummer, for example, bass line as well, or you compose like everything?
Again, it varies from piece to piece, but I do hear a lot when writing. I do hear a lot of bass lines. They come very naturally for some reason. And I have heard complete grooves as well. So I kind of, because I'm part of bands, I'm able to sort of translate those things sometimes just by like singing them, But I think I am, in general, very specific about grooves. Like, I hear the groove of the song in my brain, so I like when I'm able to communicate that. And on the other hand, like, I play with pretty incredible musicians, so like allowing them to have that space to bring their voice as well, it's crucial for me too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you seems very like fluent with different time signature, like 6/8, 9/8, 9/4. On which one? Mar Elastico? There is a 9.
Yeah, at the
Yeah,
end,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think there's some odd stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know where that comes from. It's just maybe like the love for exploration of new sounding grooves. Because although one time I did kind of correlate not necessarily those grooves, but like the idea that sometimes you will have at the end of a phrase like an odd signature, just because not because you want to be hip or because you want to do this odd meter cool stuff. It's more like because you're following the natural breath
Yes.
of the
Okay.
voice, and that
Okay.
happens a lot in folklore music, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
felt
like
that influence of South America, probably.
yeah.
And you are not like doing mathematics to check that all your bars are doing like no, you are not entering in this like mathematics stuff. It's really like
Oh,
intuitive.
yeah, yeah. And as much as like I know that okay, this song we're doing it in 7/4, and I love the kind of geeky exploration do there. It's always like about serving the phrasing and serving the
Yeah.
music, and
Yeah.
yeah, I find it a little boring, like just that mathematical kind of let's do it just because it's 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, on this Zoom call, we have 5 minutes last 5 minutes left, Sammy, left 5 minutes left, and I don't want to put pressure, so maybe we can switch to the final part of this interview about like your news and projects, if you have some tour dates in Europe for our audience to check, or whatever you want to communicate about.
Yeah, so I'm currently, and I have a goal before. Is this interview coming out this year or next year?
I don't know yet.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, my goal right now is I'm like so close to my next album. I know, I'm so excited, and it's a very different project. It was done together with my friend Shai Maestro, who plays piano. And
Nice.
he produced, yeah, we produced it like long distance because it's
Yeah.
a project that started, 3 years ago now. So I'm excited to finish that. I'm like so close. And then next year, I hope, I don't know, it will depend on all the timings, but I hope it comes out 2024. I'll be touring in the meantime, waiting for the release. I'll be in America, playing in New York, playing in Kansas and other places. And then I think I'm going to France to teach at Jazz Chilienne.
Jazz Chilienne, ouais.
It's about to be
Mhm.
confirmed.
Okay,
Jazz Chilienne.
nice. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and also playing with the HR Frankfurt big in Frankfurt. Sorry, HR big band in Frankfurt in May. So yeah, it's already looking really fun. Year.
Okay, so are you going to teach in Jazz Chilienne or playing a gig as well?
I think so far it's just teaching, but there might be some performances in there, like with the faculty and.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I keep it in mind. We never know.
Cool.
I'm French,
Where are
but
you
I'm
based?
living in I'm French, but I'm living in Lisbon. So
beautiful.
I'm not in France a lot, but it happens. But yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Camila, I don't want to put pressure with time, so I will thank you very, very much for this interview. It was very a pleasure, and we got some nice insights for the community. So good luck for finishing this album, this project. Can't wait to hear it, and looking forward to see you playing live one day in Europe or elsewhere.
Looking forward to. Thank you so much for inviting me. That was fun.
Thank you very much. Bye
All
bye.
right, have a good one.
You
Ciao.
too. Ciao, ciao.